Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today, the first thing we have to talk about today is the FCC and net neutrality. If you've watched the show for a while, you know we've talked about this a lot over the past few years. And it's important we talk about it again today because net neutrality is once again under attack. And just a brief refresher on net neutrality, the idea behind net neutrality is you have a free, fair, open internet. You have a level playing field. It keeps the internet service providers from being able to influence what people do online. In 2015, the FCC labeled broadband internet a Title II, which made it a utility. And this meant that legislation could stop ISPs from throttling, creating paid fast lanes, any other control over broadband speeds. The worry here was that these ISPs would favor certain websites or services, and if you went to any others, they would throttle broadband speeds. And we're already kind of seeing this pop up with wireless data, but it's always being touted as an incentive. A certain cell service says, hey, if you go with us when you watch Netflix, that doesn't go towards your data cap. Or maybe it's with Hulu or whoever. Now imagine your broadband internet right in your home. All of a sudden you have Comcast. They say, hey, guess what? When you use Hulu, you get the top tier, the premium speed. And they have an incentive. They own a good percentage of Hulu. But then guess what? Netflix, Amazon Prime, those places don't get our fast lane for the internet. It's slower, it's clunkier. Maybe if Netflix or Amazon Prime, they pay us, we'll give them the fast lane. You gotta pay a tax if you wanna go over our fast lane bridge. Imagine if Comcast or another ISP launched a competitor to YouTube and then they could just slow down the speeds to YouTube for their customers. Twitch, you could argue, and the chairman of the FCC now does. Well, hey, if an ISP is going to do that, the market will decide we don't want Comcast. The market will keep companies honest and fair and no. You know how many people have Comcast and they don't want Comcast, but they have to have Comcast because there aren't really any other options? And the same goes for several other ISPs. The number of options for internet providers in your area are pitiful. The United States is so far behind so many other countries. The consumers can't decide where a market goes when the market is that limited. When people have the option of Comcast, AT&T Uverse, or just not having the internet, that's not really a great situation. But back to the story. In May, Ajit Pai, the chairman of the FCC, releases a notice of proposed rulemaking, and that proposes overturning the 2015 decision. Now, as a part of this, there was a public comment period where they received 22 million comments. And you might remember Last Week Tonight did that push, go FCCyourself.com, made it really easy for people to say they didn't want these new rule changes, they wanted net neutrality. And as part of this battle for net neutrality, we saw a lot of spam in that, but one study said they found 98.5% of the unique comments were against Pai's proposal. They were for net neutrality. But still, despite all of that, it now appears the FCC is still moving forward. In a press release this morning, Pai said, under my proposal, the federal government will stop micromanaging the internet. Instead, the FCC would simply require internet service providers to be transparent about their practices so that consumers can buy the service plan that's best for them, and entrepreneurs and other small businesses can have the technical information they need to innovate. And they titled it Restoring Internet Freedom Order. Pai's statement then said the text of the plan will be released 3 weeks before the vote on December 14th. The official FCC Twitter says that it will be released tomorrow, and reportedly sources close to the plan say that it will return broadband internet to Title I as opposed to Title II. And so if that's correct, the move would end the rules that stop internet service providers from blocking, slowing broadband speeds, creating paid fast lanes. The plan would also allow ISPs to choose for themselves whether or not to throttle or create fast lanes. But as mentioned before, there would be a transparency rule included in the plan. This would require service providers to inform their customers on their practice of blocking or throttling. This plan would also get rid of the General Conduct Standard, which was created in 2015 to allow the FCC to regulate the behavior of ISPs. Instead, the power of policing the ISPs would go to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And while the FTC cannot stop ISPs from throttling, they can hold them to whatever decision they announce on it. Now, stemming from this, we saw Verizon release a statement. They said, we're very encouraged by Chairman Pai's announcement today that the FCC will move forward next month to restore the successful light touch regulatory framework for internet services. But on the other side, Google issued a statement saying the FCC's net neutrality rules are working well for consumers and we're disappointed in the proposal released today. And we also saw the acting chairman of the FTC release a statement saying the FTC stands ready to protect broadband subscribers from anti-competitive, unfair, or deceptive acts and practices just as we protect consumers and the rest of the internet ecosystem. And ultimately where we are right now is it looks like net neutrality is going to die. On December 14th, it is very much believed that in a 3-2 vote, Pai's proposal will pass, and then the already too powerful will have even more power. It is truly insane to me that this is going to happen. The market has power when there are choices and there are just not enough choices. There's some places where people literally only have one option. And now the FCC is going to make it so that those guys can charge tolls for other companies, and which is, hey, great for them. They get to maximize their of revenue in new, exciting ways. All the meanwhile stifling new independent innovation, icing out any new company, new service that doesn't want to partner up with them. And as someone who in general doesn't want the government in all the different aspects of my life, there are certain places like this one where it is important that there are regulations and there are ways to keep people safe. The fact that a person and people in power do not see how this is predatory in nature for consumers, for everyday people, is ridiculous. This is a dark day for innovation. This is a dark day for small business. It is a dark day for consumers. And trust me when I say this, the initial bad from this will start out as a trickle, but the true bad is coming. But if there is a last chance for hope here, it is Congress and you watching right now, calling your congressperson and demanding they do the right thing here. And to make it super easy, you can just go to battleforthenet.com. There, just put in your phone number, hit call. They'll connect you to your congressperson or their office. They'll also provide an easy to read script. If Battle for the Net is slammed with high call volume, you can also go to callmycongress.com. You just enter your address, you get your representative's information, call and ask for them to do the right thing. They are supposed to be representing you and your interests and your needs, and not just that of a large company that maybe gives them money. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by DeFrancoGrip.com. I've mentioned the dbrain grip before, and they are still in their crowdfunding campaign. I've got one on this phone, and it is truly as grippy as they say, which is incredibly important in my life. Life presents a lot of drop opportunities when you're a dad. But that said, if you've heard this before, but you missed out because all the perks sold out in the first 6 hours of my first mention, dbrain has since launched another exclusive super secret perk just for you beautiful bastards. If you want to snag one, be sure to just go to DeFrancoGrip.com. You get 50% off the retail price, and if you're in North America, you will get free shipping. And the first bit of awesome, every now and then I like to do these recommendations for movies or TV series. And the one I'm recommending today, if you have Netflix, I highly recommend you watch Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond. It goes through with Jim Carrey now, and there's never before seen footage of when Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman. And I'm only halfway through right now, and it is one of the most bizarre things to watch. It's weird, it's twisted, it's fascinating. I highly recommend it, or if that doesn't sound your speed, and you still somehow haven't watched the Train to Busan or Tunnel, get on that. Then we got possibly the only redeeming thing about the Emoji Movie. We got the honest trailer for it. Also, don't tell Jax Films this, but the Emoji Movie was fucking garbage. Then, thanks to Wired, the Stranger Things cast answered the web's most searched questions. And if you're just in the need for some dumb fun, thanks to Japanese television, we have a show called Slippery Stairs, which is exactly what it says it is. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about longtime broadcaster Charlie Rose in the news, and the reason for that is yesterday the Washington Post published a piece detailing misconduct between Charlie Rose and 8 women. According to the Post, Rose made unwanted sexual advances toward them, including lewd phone calls, walking around naked in their presence, or groping their breasts, buttocks, or genital areas. Rose's accusers either worked with or aspired to work with him on his PBS show Charlie Rose from the late 1990s to 2011. At the times of these alleged incidents, the women's ages ranged between 21 to 37. While 3 of the accusers gave their names, 5 asked to remain anonymous. One of the accusers, Rhea Bravo, who in 2007 was a 29-year-old graduate student, she said several months into her internship with Rose, he offered her a side gig at his home in Bellport. She said that while working with him, he repeatedly groped her, sometimes forcefully. One of the most troubling accusations was from an unnamed woman who said she was applying for a job, said Rose invited her to his home. She said after sitting by the pool, he said he needed change after getting his pants wet. She says he returned wearing an open bathrobe with nothing underneath. She then says Rose tries to put his hand down her pants, saying she was scared, she was frozen, she pushed his hands away. She said she was crying the entire time, to which she says Rose said, quote, "Baby, oh baby, why are you crying?" And as far as why the women said they never reported these incidents, there were various reasons. Some, it was because of fear of the power he had over their careers. Some mentioned his volatile temper. Some mentioned just being embarrassed, ashamed, or not really knowing who to turn to. According to Amy Britton, one of the journalists who reported on this piece, he has such power over the show, he owns the show. There is no human resources department in the Charlie Rose show. Many of these women said that even if they wanted to file an official complaint, they wouldn't even know who to go to. And actually, 2 of the women said they made longtime executive producer Yvette Vega aware of Rose's inappropriate behavior. One saying they were told that's just Charlie being Charlie. And in a statement to the Post, Vega said, quote, "I should have stood up for them. I failed. It is crushing. I deeply regret not helping them." Also, after this article, the Washington Post said that more than a dozen women had reached out to them to share their stories as well. Also, after the Washington Post article, 3 women shared their story with Business Insider. These stories stemming from 2005, 2008, 2010. One of those involving unwanted touching. The New York Times spoke with 2 women who said that Charlie Rose tried to kiss them without their permission. Charlie Rose then released a statement to these allegations. In my 45 years in journalism, I've prided myself on being an advocate for the careers of the women with whom I have worked. Nevertheless, in the past few days, claims have been made about my behavior towards some former female colleagues. It is essential that these women know I hear them and that I deeply apologize for my inappropriate behavior. I am greatly embarrassed. I have behaved insensitively at times, and I accept responsibility for that, though I do not believe all of these allegations are accurate. I always felt that I was pursuing shared feelings, even though I now realize I was mistaken. I have learned a great deal as a result of these events, and I hope others will too. All of us, including me, are coming to a newer and deeper recognition of the pain caused by conduct in the past, and have come to a profound new respect for women and their lives. And to that, I just have to give my response to that. Charlie, you're 75. It's already a little bit of a stretch to call someone who's 20 to 30, a kid. But people are still somewhat forgiving and open to second chances for people under 30 because, you don't know who you are at that time. You're 75 saying that all of a sudden now is when you have a new respect for women and their lives. Also, if the allegation that you tried to jam your hand down some girl who is trying to get a job's pants and she's crying while that's happening, I don't know if there is a bigger stop sign. If you put your hand down someone's pants and their reaction seems to be crying, it doesn't seem reasonable to describe that situation as pursuing shared feelings. Also, it's incredibly important for people in positions of power to realize that if they try and do something with someone that's trying to get a job, someone that works for them, someone they are potentially the gatekeeper for in their industry, you're not on the same level. That relationship is or is primed to get very, very abusive. And it's incredibly important that people in those positions know that now. It's especially important for all the new people jumping into positions of power to realize that as well. It doesn't make it right. It is one thing to mess up when you're younger, but if there's something that we can all get from this, hopefully it is education. But back to the story. Hours after the accusation, Charlie Rose was suspended. CBS News PR releasing the statement, Charlie Rose is suspended immediately while we look into this matter. These allegations are extremely disturbing and we take them very seriously. And then we learned this morning that Charlie Rose was fired. And the president of CBS News, David Rhodes, announced this in an email to staff, saying a short time ago, we terminated Charlie Rose's employment with CBS News effective immediately. This followed the revelation yesterday of extremely disturbing and intolerable behavior said to have revolved around his PBS program. Despite Charlie's important journalistic contribution to our news division, there is absolutely nothing more important in this or any organization than ensuring a safe professional workplace. Also, last second update, PBS has also released a statement saying in light of yesterday's revelations, PBS has terminated its relationship with Charlie Rose and canceled distribution of his programs. And that's where we are with this story right now. And where I want to leave this is once again doubling down on this being a teachable moment, because while this may seem like common sense to you, it's not common sense to everyone. And the reason I say that is there are many people who have a different opinion on what sexual harassment is. There was a really interesting report in The Economist last week, and inside there was a chart based on polling based on location, age, gender of what constitutes sexual harassment. The orange lines are women, the blue lines are men. The percentages represent respondents stating always or usually to the question, would you consider it sexual harassment if a man who is not a romantic partner did the following to a woman? And the results were really interesting. For the sake of time, I'm just going to stick to the results from the United States. And here are the results for each situation. Requesting a sexual favor, making sexual jokes, placing hand on lower back, looking at breasts, wolf whistling, commenting on attractiveness, asking to go for a drink. And what we see from that is there is no clear consensus. Other than on requesting a sexual favor or making a sexual joke, pretty much everything else has a downward slope. And what I want to do is kind of pass this poll on to you. What is your takeaway from it? Obviously, in cases where you have allegations against Charlie Rose that he was putting hands on women, he was putting his hands on thighs, a woman that worked for him, trying to put his hand down the pants of a woman that was trying to get a job from him. That's obvious. But where I've been seeing the biggest amount of debate is specifically on the commenting on attractiveness part. Between 25 to 50% of the youngest surveyed were saying that commenting on someone's attractiveness is sexual harassment. Obviously, this polling would benefit from more context, right? The commenting on attractiveness, is that saying you look beautiful in that dress, or is it nice ass? One of those seems far more obvious, but to some, both may be included. And it also makes me think of a joke that we see pop up in comedy, a lot of stand-up in various iterations, and that's that in some cases, the difference between sexual harassment and a successful interaction with a woman is salesmanship and attractiveness. The idea that a woman's going to have a different reaction to Idris Elba or Ryan Gosling saying something than if I said something, than the kind of weird guy at your job says something. Once again, I'm not saying what's right or wrong, I want to throw that out there, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, you want to support independent media, go to DeFrancoElite.com, sign up, become a member. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to see the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.